Football then and now, a fun look at football nostalgia and the modern game intertwined. Join us. A warm welcome. This is episode 29 of Football Then and Now, a nostalgic look at football, but also current day news, topics galore. And the man waiting in the wings for his fourth appearance on Football Then and Now is none other than big Spurs fan, John Scott. You're back. It's Friday. I reached out to you. You could do it. So thank you so much for coming on the show today, man.
No worries, my friend. No worries. All good to be here.
Now, I'm going to talk about on this day, Chris has selected the topic. It's Everton again, I'm afraid. For all the non-Everton fans, it's an Everton topic. And it was the Merseyside derby on Saturday, the 18th of October, 1997. Danny Cadamarteri got one of the goals. Neil Ruddock.
Well. Yeah.
And I tell you what, John, I thought this was going to be the rise of Cadamarteri in his career. I thought we were going to have him for many years ahead. It didn't quite pan out like that. Ended up at Huddersfield in his career. He's a Yorkshireman, of course. It just didn't happen for him. But this game, I always remember it. And just your memories of this. And, everyone thought it was going to be the rise of Danny Cadamarteri, didn't they?
Yeah, I remember having him a lot in my old FIFA games, to be honest with you, because he was like the rising star. And I always wanted to make sure he was in my team. So that's how big of a name he was to everyone else. Like even in other clubs, everyone knew that name. But do you know what? I completely forgot about him until you've just brought him up on this. So goes to show how very little we knew in the end. But what an amazing potential at the very beginning for you guys especially.
It's just crazy. And I remember we had a young Michael Ball in the team as well. Richard Dunn, right. The three of them were coming through around about the same time. Now, Richard Dunn ended up at City. I'd say Richard Dunn's best run was at Villa towards the back. He was absolutely brilliant. But again, we let Michael Ball go. He went to Rangers. These three lads.
I remember. I remember that.
It was like we were struggling at that point as well. We were relegation battling it, weren't we, of course. But yeah, I was expecting these lads to be with us for a long time. It doesn't necessarily pan out like that, does it, John, sometimes?
No, never does, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, you guys have always had that little sniff of amazing players coming out, but you either take a punt and play them, or next thing you find out they've gone somewhere else and are, doing well, but not for your club, unfortunately.
Bloody 27 years ago, this as well. It's like crazy.
Yeah, I remember it's making me feel old now, mate.
I remember match of the day, waiting for it, but also I had the game on the radio back in the day on Radio Merseyside. But great nostalgia, Chris. Thank you for that. I hope I've done justice to this segment, and we'll have you for the next one. Absolutely. In other news, the big topic of the week, John, I've got to bring it up. It's split opinion. Thomas Tuchel has become England manager. I think there was quite a few candidates, as you say. I think they had 10 candidates. It's come out in the news in the last couple of days. But what are your thoughts about it? Also, a lot of people want an English manager. It's this German-England thing again, isn't it? I think it's irrelevant in my mind. But what are your thoughts of his appointment and what he can bring and what he'll do to help England maybe get over the line and win a big tournament potentially?
Well, I'm with you, to be honest with you, mate. I mean, at this point of in the day and age we're living in now, when you look at the Premier League, there's 3 English managers managing currently in the league, I believe. So, most clubs are foreign owned. The Premier League is where it's at, not because of the homegrown stuff, but because of foreign investment. And now our league is, known around the world. So, am I surprised that even the FA have taken a punt again to go abroad? Because at the moment, there's no standout candidate. Even Eddie Howe, as much as we're all, he was sort of nailed on favourite in terms of an English manager. There's no guarantee with Eddie Howe. He's not someone who's gone out and won leagues yet. Like, it's been a while since we've had that as an England manager that has won league titles. So I'm not surprised, to be honest with you, Stu. The only thing I'm surprised about is the FA appointing somebody personality-wise like a Thomas Tuchel, because it's like night and day compared to him and Gareth Southgate. I mean, Gareth Southgate very much played it safe, very good, very like spoken well in the media. You know, it was always going to do very good representation of the FA in that way. Thomas Tuchel, on the other hand, has got a bit of he comes with some baggage, and let's say he does have a falling out. However, listen, he's got a 2-year deal, which I think is pretty smart. That means, you know, he's there. We ain't if it does go all wrong, we haven't got to pay him off after the World Cup. And so, you know, am I that bothered about it? Not really, to be honest with you, mate. I just think he at the moment they don't want to pay anybody out of their contract, because again it brings up the argument, well, if you pay 5 million to Newcastle for Eddie Howe or whatever, like Pep Guardiola, one of these guys, people will say, well, why is that not going into grassroots football? Why are we wasting all that money, 5 million, when, you know, we could be spending it there? So Thomas Tuchel's available. He seems like he's very keen on the job. I mean, that's for sure. You've got to be, because he would have known what sort of blowback this would have, being a German coach. But am I fussed that he's German? Not really. You only got to look at cricket as well now, Stu. I think they're managed by not even an Englishman anymore. Rugby recently, we took on an Australian, and he ended up winning it for us. So, yeah, I don't know. In this day and age, we've gone through Fabio and Sven. I kind of feel like we're past that now, to be honest. But go on, mate.
They've tried it time and time again, John, with a domestic manager, and you know that is the route you would go. But as you say, they've done it prior. Capello did 4 years virtually. Sven was there 5 years. I just think it's an old-fashioned view, and I will go back to it. It's a separate thing. It's what I wrote the other day. We've been out of the war for 79 years, and there's still that mindset. That's how I believe, in my opinion. It's a nonsense. Look what the guy has won, and it is still one of the best jobs in football. Anybody will take it on. I guarantee that. And Southgate, we've spoken about Southgate, haven't we, previously on this show? Far too defensive. Carsley, I felt, against Greece, I know he didn't play a 9, essentially played a false 9, didn't he? They were too attacking then, and they were awful at the back. It just needs a bit of balance, doesn't it? Would you agree with that, or do you think something different?
No, I totally agree with it. The thing with Tuchel that he'll bring is he's a really good tactician. That's kind of what he's known for. He does very well, and you know, if you think about it, he does well in the short term. The only job he hasn't really succeeded at was his last one, unfortunately, which was Bayern Munich. Let's hope that changes with our other friend Harry Kane, because they could both do with picking up, and especially Harry Kane getting a trophy this year, let's say. But no, I mean, like I say, mate, I'm not against it at all. I just don't. I don't have massive feelings on it, if I'm honest with you, Stu. I don't know if that's where we are now as an England fan, but listen, we've been doing well. We just haven't got over the line. That's really it. Now, if Thomas Tuchel goes into the World Cup in Mexico and America, I think his biggest hurdles will be the temperature will play a big part, as it always does with English players. But secondly, if Thomas Tuchel can he get the luck that Gareth Southgate got with the draw? Because all the way up to finals, we seem to get a really nice lucky run of games to the finals. Do you know what I mean? So if that continues, I think if Thomas Tuchel was in charge for one of those matches, I'll put my neck out and say would have won one of them. Let's say in the finals, we wouldn't have lost both. That's just my opinion.
As well, John. It's hard. They're not with them that much over the year, are they? It's a very hard job to do. They come in, they'll finish on the Sunday, the later games, won't they? Going into the international break. You haven't got the squad for that long as well. This is what people forget sometimes. I'm trying to look at it logistically and give it another spin. I'm not just saying it because it didn't go well against Greece for him. I knew Carsley wasn't going to work out, but they just did it on a 6-game basis, didn't they? Which he's going to fulfill in November. He'll finish.
Yeah, I mean that's the surprising thing, that he's not coming in till, what is it, January, which is a bit of a weird thing. But maybe that's because Bayern Munich still had a hold over him on a contract or something, and the FA didn't want to pay it. So that might be the reason that he's only available. But of course, what it will do is make the players want to start putting their name in the book, so that when he comes in, he's going to be looking at them, because I do think he will drop players that perhaps we won't expect. I do think he'll make those tough decisions. And to be honest with you, he knows he's only here for 2 years. I just think he's not really going to care as much. I think if you think about it, towards the end, Stu, with Gareth Southgate, when he was sitting down in front of the press, you could tell it was getting to him a bit. He started to hear the rumblings from the fans. And I don't think Thomas Tuchel's like that. I kind of think he's going to just basically take a punt on what he believes in. And whether we like it or not, if he thinks that's going to win it, then he's going to go with it. In my eyes, listen, if he wins the World Cup in 2 years, no one's going to care he's German. That's for sure. There'll be a statue of him. It'll be the opposite.
The world's different now. The world's different now. If this had happened, say, pre-Terry Venables, and it was happening, the world was a different place 30 years ago. Totally different. Gary Neville, moaning about it, and Carragher, and I'm not. I don't mind them as pundits, actually. A lot of people moan about them. I don't actually mind them. But what has Gary Neville done as a manager? He went to Spain. It didn't work out. I know he's coached for England as well. They do my head in sometimes. It's got to be English. He's got to be English. It's time has changed. What an antiquated view that he's German. What an antiquated view.
Yeah, I mean, I just think, and the other thing as well, Stu, is international football. It doesn't have the lure that it once had to managers. You'll know this from our generation, Stu, when we were growing up. The international scene was almost the flip side. Now I feel clubs have taken over now, and it's more important about the clubs. But back then, international football was the highest you could get, and prime managers would go into it at that time. Nowadays, what we see managers that maybe haven't succeeded much in the domestic club scene, and we see sort of managers in their twilight almost go and manage at that stage. So it's a bit of a different thing. Whereas, today, I heard somebody, I don't know who it was, I think it was on Sky Sports, but they threw out a really good argument, and they said, why don't we just bring a manager in for these tournaments? And then that way we'd get the best club managers out there and wouldn't have to pay them a fortune. To just get Pep in for the summer, basically, just pay him a wad load of money for that and a bonus if he wins it, and see what he does. Because like you say, Stu, it's not like when people say about Pep getting the job, I don't think Pep's going to be able to go in and put all his philosophy into England in 2 games every now and then against really bad opposition most of the time. I don't think he's going to be able to influence it in that style of football. It's more of a thing about man management and tactics during the game. That's what I'm bothered about. But yeah, just my opinion on that one.
That was another one. It was Neville, I'm sure it was. I'm paraphrasing. St. George's Park was built on the proviso that it was going to be the English manager. What's a load of bollocks? It's like, come on, man. You're chatting absolute garbage. And I do agree with some stuff that he says, but I was like, so bloody what? Ross James, who's a Chelsea fan. Sorry, John. So
you're good, mate. You're good.
He knows Tuchel very well, and he's a big wrestling fan as well. Is Ross? Good lad he is. All right, Stu. I think Thomas Tuchel is a fantastic appointment. Picking a manager who is just English is pathetic. If a manager is good enough, why exclude non-English managers?
Yeah, good point. Now, I totally agree with that. Everything you've just said, yeah. And we don't have the luxury, Stu. I mean, a few years ago, it was Steven Gerrard's going to be the next Liverpool manager. We had Wayne Rooney, Lampard, and unfortunately, and even Potter. But look where their stock is at the moment. Are we really wanting to go down that route just because they're English? Like I said, the closest to it at the moment is Eddie Howe, but even he's not a guarantee. He's not won things at the moment. Like Thomas Tuchel is in a slightly different level for me as a manager. He's not elite, but he's definitely won things that we know of. He's won a Champions League. He's managed. He's not shy of putting his stuff across. And I'm for him, to be honest with you, mate. I don't have a problem that he's German.
I agree.
Or I don't care what anyone wants to moan about. As you said, Stu, it's a lot of bollocks that we listen to. I was shocked at the amount of blowback he got from these so-called pundits.
Not moaning, sorry, wrong word. I'm doing a disservice. And like when they're asked on the press conference, the pre-match press conferences yesterday and today, they're all saying, he's, I would have preferred an English manager. But then I think it was Eddie Howe that said, but I do agree with Tuchel being appointed with the guys that have been interviewed and stuff like that. So, let's see what happens. I think it's February, the internationals for him. There'll be February ones, won't there? Or March. So
that's what I've got down.
The litmus test, isn't it, for him, going forward. But we shall see. We shall see. In other news, I know you're a massive Football Manager fan, as we've spoken about in previous episodes and all the nostalgic ones as well. But I think it was earlier this week, Football Manager 2025 is delayed, John. So, your thoughts on this? It was obviously penciled in for November 26th. They've delayed it again. So, just what you felt when this was delayed again, when it was in the news?
A little bit disappointed, obviously. What am I going to do now, Stu? I mean, I've got plenty of stuff to be cracking on with. Listen, there was a big uproar about it, but to be honest with you, Stu, when it was first delayed, the first one that came across, I was kind of fearing the worst because, like, the whole thing with Unity that they brought in, we were hearing rumblings that the match engine wasn't matching what they were putting out in text almost because it was so complicated and the simulation. So I'd rather, to be honest with you, Stu, them delay this and get it right than put something out and it's just going to get a load of blowback on, because this is a big move for them. They're going into a completely different setup and view and look. So I think it's important they get it right. The only issue will be for them from a marketing point of view, Stu, is that when they come out in March, they're going to have to try and sell 2 games within under a year. So that will be an issue. Now, I don't know if they're going to come out with some sort of package deal or something where they might just bring the price down for 2. I don't know, but they're going to have to sort something out there because they'll lose money. I mean, they're going to lose money either way now. So I think it's just important that they keep some of the reputation. Whether I know a lot of fans were coming out and saying, will they do like just a little mini DLC update for the 24 one? But we haven't heard too much from that. But yeah, I don't know. I'd rather them get it right, Stu, because being a wrestling fan, what was that flipping game, that 2K game that came out that time, and it was dreadful, and it took them so many years to get that brand back and that reputable market back to their fans. So these are important decisions. I feel they've done the smartest move, even though I'm disappointed as a fan that I can't get my hands on it and play it.
Do you know what I was going to get as well? If it comes out on Android, obviously FM Touch came out on Apple Arcade, of course.
Sure.
Just the way I play it now, I like it in my hand, weirdly. I know the full version of the game is the granddaddy, is the best. But a friend of mine's been playing FM Touch since last November. So you've got all like the highlights with the players on rather than dots going around the screen and stuff. So he was enjoying FM Touch, but
I know a few people that are now like they don't even play the proper game anymore. They want to play the touch one, especially the one on Netflix, because obviously that's available with your subscription. But I don't know. I think it's also a thing where he always tells me the most time he does play it is in the toilet. So it's one of those ones, Stu. You know what I mean? It's, just instead of a newspaper, we got the phone and Football Manager.
In his job, he was playing it during work hours. He's on the loo. he was on the loo. He was on the carsy. He was
playing an FA Cup final.
I said, was it a long day? No. He said, I clocked off at the right time and all that. He said, I was playing it. I was engrossed in whatever it was, a cup final or lead up to. So, I like the portability of it these days. I know it's been on mobile for a while, but hopefully Touch is out for Android. But I think you can get it on Game Pass. There is other ways of getting hold of it, but just a shame, isn't it, John? Because they've took it over, and there's been issues. Everyone's waiting for it imminently. They want it, don't they? So many people love the game.
Yeah, there's a big market for it, but like I say, I think they've got to get it right because this is going to be such a big change, especially with the graphics. So, and they've only just recently done deals with PlayStation and Xbox, so that's going to widen that audience. So I think they need to get it right, because for these casual fans that maybe don't play Football Manager, they'd be put off after the first go, if you know what I mean. So
absolutely. So it's looking like it'll be March, and as you say, it could be two releases within 2025. That is potentially what could happen. Lewis Young up in Falkirk there in Scotland. Hi, Lewis. All good.
Is he a Falkirk fan as well, or is he supporting?
That could be. I think he likes United, but I don't know on the Scottish side. Maybe
Go on.
he is full Kirk, John.
Yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, I've got a nostalgic thing here because I've noticed with the episodes, we haven't done a lot of the old school. I was saying to Chris, and I came up with this one, and it was the Romanian team in 1998 at the World Cup, and they all look exactly the same, bar the goalkeeper, of course. But I can remember John Champion when he was with the BBC back in the day, and I felt for him when this happened because, as I said to you off camera, it's hard enough when they've got names on their back and you're trying to commentate and get the players right. But yeah, what a moment this was for all the commentary teams across the world, John.
I remember this so well at school, 1998, the World Cup. But yeah, I remember them coming out and it being quite the sight. Like it was the in thing. And then I remember going on FIFA 98, changing all my players so that they all had the same hair as well because I wanted it to match. But this is the one I believe Hadji played his last national games in, I think, for the World Cup. And he was a fantastic player. Like I think if my memory serves me right, which I am getting old, Stu, so who knows, but did they not kick off that World Cup that year? The first game, because
it was Brazil and Scotland in '98.
Okay, I've totally got that wrong then.
It's all right.
Okay. But yeah, I remember the big thing about Hadji, and I think it was Chippo as well, was another player, and I think they both ended up at Coventry.
Yes.
For a short time after, and they were quite good players at the time, like for his imports. But yeah, what a sight that is. I mean, I wonder, I can't remember, and I was trying to look around who actually come up with the idea, but I'm sure it was one of the players that said we should do this and be united and just go in with the same hair. I don't think we've seen it since, have we, Stu? I don't think any teams come out of anything crazy.
I was trying to find a clip, an audio segment of John Champion, and I was going to play it over, but I couldn't find anything. But I just remember him, and I can't remember who was on co-coms with him. But it's just like not the curse of the commentator. That's the wrong analogy. But it was like, I always think it's a struggle when you cover a European game and they've got to do all their due diligence beforehand and know the players. I always think about that, and then that happens. I know I keep going back to it, but it's like, oh my god, panic station.
I wouldn't have wanted to call it. I can tell you that much. That's where numbers and names come in very handy on the back, if you can see it. That is.
What a team, as you said. Muntianu, I always remember him being a decent player. Petrescu's there. I'll put the photo up actually. Petrescu.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think who else there actually. Number 9, I can't think of his bloody name. But yeah.
Oh, Illy. Was that his name? Yes, I remember signing him. He was the one. He was the one everyone was saying you've got to watch out for. He was like, I think their most sort of primed up and coming player who was scoring for fun. I can't remember what club he was playing for at the time, but he was definitely a known goal scorer.
What a tournament that was as well, John. Just to go a bit.
I love that tournament. I remember watching games at school in the afternoon, England, Tunisia, when we played them. I was at school in an assembly room. Remember it very well. I think we drew that game, as a matter of fact. Or did we win? No, I think that's the one we won. We had Colombia in our group that year as well, which was pretty cool. But no, good times. I liked that one. Obviously, the Argentina thing never gets old with Mr. Beckham getting sent off. But yeah, I did enjoy the tournament. France had just an amazing squad. What a depth of players to host it that year. They had the team, and Brazil, that first 11, unbelievable, mate, unbelievable.
Just obviously, like we've said before on this show, Ronaldo being injured and all the stuff surrounding that. Ahead of the final. It was a massive, massive thing, wasn't it? Him not being 100%, of course, but can't take anything away from the French. And
no, not at all.
Subsequently, then 2000 at the Euros as well. You look at Spain. There's times of dominance, there's periods of dominance with countries, isn't there? And you put France's period right up there, don't you? With anybody.
Oh, yeah. Easily. He had such a good array of players: Lizarazu, Thuram, Leboeuf, Desailly at the time, and then you had quite a lot of good up and coming players like Gallas coming through and stuff like that, like in the foreground. So I think Candela was there as well, Stu. Barthez. I think Barthez got the move to Man United after that World Cup. as a
Yes,
matter
I
of fact.
remember it
So
well. I remember it well. Just amazing. Just wanted a bit of nostalgia, John. Just a
yeah, no,
little
it's
bit.
good, mate. It's good. It's good for me.
A lot of it's been in, in the now. We've covered a lot of current stuff, over the last couple of months. So it's nice. It's nice. We'll definitely do some more nostalgia in subsequent episodes. And moving on, Spurs and West Ham are the opening game. So your Spurs are on at 12:30 tomorrow. So just a little preview. We're all right for time, so we'll cover quite a bit, I think, here. But yeah, your thoughts going into this game. Spurs, you've looked really good, John. They've looked really good. They've hit a bit of form, haven't they, to be fair?
Apart from the last game. But I'll be there tomorrow, so I'll be down there for that. It's always a feisty affair, mate, with West Ham and us. I can assure you, especially with I think more with the fans than there is anything else. But no, I'm looking forward to it. I'm not. Yeah, I'm still all right with everything. We did fluff it up against Brighton. Obviously, we were 2-0 up, and then somehow managed to lose 3-2 in the second half. It was unbelievable because the first half we just played so well. But as I've said, and I'm probably always going to say this whilst Andrew's in charge, he doesn't want to ever sit back and defend. He wants to go for the third goal. And to be honest with you, the fans that were moaning that week that he still did that, the week before we put 3 past Man United, and we come out in the second half of that and scored. So that's the thing. It's fine margins. If you can, sometimes going for that third kills a game off completely, and it certainly did against Man United. But yeah, fair play to Brighton though, because they were not even in it for the first. Like you just couldn't see a way back. But the fact they had the spirit to come back and put 3 past us, they've got such a good array of talent as well. But I was disappointed, Stu, as you can imagine, being a Spurs fan sitting there watching that game. But yeah, looking forward to tomorrow, mate.
You did an Everton, didn't you? You're well and true. You took the mantle from us. We've done it twice, dropping a bloody lead. But yeah, when I saw early on, I was like, Spurs will get a third, and that'll be it. But yeah, I think prior to that though, you've been playing some good stuff. Like you absolutely battered United a couple of weeks before that. It was a really good performance. They played really well.
We just got to get over the line. The one player since I've lost, come on, you remember he was getting a load of stick, Johnston. He's been unbelievable, mate. He's been scoring in every game, including Brighton, since I last come on and spoke to you. So I'm hoping that keeps up for tomorrow because since he's taken all that flack, you can tell Ange there has done a very good man management job with him, and just sort of giving him confidence to go out and prove your doubters that way, which is the best way of doing it, for sure. I think what we need to see, because last time I was on Stu, you was talking about Solanke and he was getting a lot of stick. Well, he started putting a few goals in now. He's doing what he's supposed to do, but it will take a bit of time. I still think for him to gel in that system, it will take a bit of time. I'm hoping as well that Son will be back tomorrow for us as well, so that'll be a big thing. One player I do want to mention for Tottenham recently, Kulusevski. Obviously, we've been playing him through the middle now. He's been playing more in that Maddison spot, so we almost have 2 attacking midfielders in our team. But he, in that position, I think he's going to be quite the player. I think that's going to become his prime position going forward for Kulusevski. So hopefully, good things there. Yeah. What else we got tomorrow, Stu? What else we got?
I'll tell you what I will say, John, just off the back of this. West Ham, prior to beating Ipswich 4-1, they were not doing it worthy at all. I think a lot of people expect them to be further up the table. But Lopetegui's had a tough time. I know they absolutely hammered Ipswich last time out, but I just think I've got you guys just getting over the line with this. I think 2-1 to the Spurs. 2-1 to the Spurs.
Well, of course, I'm going to say a win for Spurs. So,
yeah, absolutely. You've got to definitely. Yeah, at home as well. I think you'll get a win you'll get 3 points on the board. Fulham Villa. Now that to me, that's a huge game. That's a huge game. Fulham lost last time out though, but prior to that, they were nearly on 2 points a game after 6. But Villa,
I've got Fulham down for the win. To be fair,
yeah, and Villa have got one eye on the Champions League as well. You know what I mean? It's hard, isn't it? Even with the players he's managed to sign and the squad depth. I think I've got Fulham winning this, and that might cause a bit of, people might think bloody hell, but I think Fulham can beat them. I do. I think Villa have got a lot on their plate.
Yeah, I've been impressed with Fulham this season. They've the style of football and what they're doing is very practical as well for them, for their team, and they're just sort of firing on all cylinders really where they need to go. So I've got them down for a surprise win because Aston Villa, of course, are no scrubs, that's for sure. And Emery's doing a fantastic job. But like we said last time, it was going to be difficult because obviously they're playing in the Champions League now. You've got that midweek, weekend where you've got to try and rotate. And obviously after the international break, it's a little bit different. But I'm still going to go for a Fulham win.
A sticky one for the Toffees, pardon the pun here. Ipswich away. I think if we can come out of that with a draw, because they are the draw specialist, Ipswich. They really are. But I think it's going to be a tough one. Villa only just got out of there with a 2-2 draw, didn't they? By the end of it, Liam Delap is looking very good as well. I'm hoping we're going to get a win, but I think it's going to be a tricky one down at Portman Road for the Blues tomorrow. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a must win for you guys for sure in this instance. Ipswich, I mean, I don't know. I thought they were going to get it their act sorted out a little bit more, but they got obviously thumped the other week. But it'll be an hard one. I'm trying to think. I would say the safe bet would be. I think most people will put this down as a draw, but I think you guys will just nick it. I think you guys will get a win, and that is going to put even more pressure on Ipswich now because of where they are currently in that situation of the pecking order. But this might be for you, Stu. There needs to obviously be a bit of a turning point for you guys. What is the situation at the moment with the fan base with Dice? Is it still very much prickly?
Obviously, because of the international break, it's gone relatively quiet. There's not been a lot in terms of that. A lot of it's been with Friedkin obviously coming in, hopefully in December, all being well. And a lot of it is ground about Bramley Moore, because obviously they put the LED boards in and stuff. So it's been very quiet, but obviously it's been 2 weeks without a game as well. But then people U-turned a little bit and they were saying, oh, well, maybe we should stick with him. I just can't see the point of getting rid of him at the moment. Let Friedkin come in and let's see what happens. But yeah, it's gone relatively quiet on Dyche, I would say. But we'll see after this tomorrow night when it's full time. But yeah, hopefully we can get over the line. But I've just got in my head, I think it's going to be a score draw. And I think that Liam Delap's going to score. He's been doing all right. He's been doing okay. Moving on, Man United, Brentford. John, Ten Hag is on the chopping block. How much longer is this going to go on? I know so many United fans that have had enough. They've just had enough. Wow. I said, but again, he won them cups. That kept him in charge, didn't it? I said, everyone's basing it off Ferguson 11 years later.
You can't base it off someone as good as he was. But it is unbelievable that he's still currently there at the moment with everything going on. And you'd almost say that it was the impossible job at the start of the season, given everything that's going around. However, they still let him pretty much go out and buy some of his own players like De Ligt. I'm sure that's pretty much from him because they work together at Ajax. So they're still giving him what he wants because obviously, Stu, when you get a new manager in, there's going to have to be another shift and he'll want his own type of players in again. So when you've got a manager signing players from a previous club, it makes it quite difficult to then, change it up again. And then you're going to have to spend just a load more money, which is all these teams ever seem to do half the time. Do you know what I mean? And still get it wrong. But yeah, I think that if you've got to be honest, Stu, this goes back to the original subject at the beginning. Tuchel, did England push out on that early because the situation at Man United is he was definitely in that line to get the job. So I do wonder if that's kind of why they went ahead, even though they can't have him until the new year. because you just look at the current situation at Man United. Where are they going to go? Also, where are they going to look at for a new manager? We keep hearing rumblings of Radcliffe talking up Gareth Southgate, but I don't think many Manchester United fans that I know would be too pleased with that appointment, quite frankly. So it's just a bit of a messy situation with them. They do well one week and then it's just sort of back. I mean, when we played them, for instance, I didn't think we played particularly great. I just think Man United was so poor at times in that game. Against Brentford, who I do want to give amazing praise to, because I really like Frank as well as a manager. I think he's good, and considering what he's got available to him, obviously he lost Ivan Toney. They're still doing well, Stu. Like they still have an amazing attacking three, and you don't want to be as a defender. You look at it; they also score goals so early, Stu. I mean, they've got that crazy record. I was there the other week. I think I told you I was going VIP at Spurs. I hadn't even sat in my seat, and they'd scored. So you know, they were scoring goals within the minute, and then I think the other week it was the first 2 minutes they scored in their last game. So yeah, very, very dangerous team. If Brentford wins, Stu, let me say this much: do you think that's it for Ten Hag? Do you think they just go?
I can't see him getting. I can't see him getting that European game. You know, I just can't. I can't see it because then that's going to be 4 losses out of 7. They're 14th as things stand now. I think he could be gone. I truly believe it. I think he is hanging on by. It's so thin how much he's hanging on by. And they just they want league titles, they want Champions Leagues again because they were accustomed to it for so many years. I do get it, but Thomas Frank's name was getting put in the mix, funnily enough. You know, do you know what I mean? It could be his with the sit down thing that game, you know, and Jim Radcliffe's watching on and all that. But
to be honest, though, before you go to Man United, all of these managers are in the same boat as what Thomas Frank is now. I mean, Ten Hag, for instance, you know, his stock was huge when he was at Ajax. I remember Spurs wanting him for a while, and that style of football he was playing. Just unfortunate, we haven't seen it. Like, whereas you talk about Ange ball, and whether we like it or not, I think the difference between Tottenham and Man United is at least we know, you know, the style of play, what that's about. Whereas Man United, I don't think they quite know what they are. They don't know their best team still to this point. The defence last week, Stu, when they played, they had Johnny Evans still playing, which no disrespect to Johnny Evans because he's an amazing servant for them, but he's 36, and you're like, why have Man United got De Ligt sitting on the bench in a game like this? It was pretty. Yeah,
no rhyme or reason to it, John. Although Maguire did get him out of trouble against Porto, didn't he? Everyone was like, "Look, you know, my word, what's he doing?" But again, the Porto game, he took Rashford off, and on commentary, I think Robbie Savage was he was doing analysis. He's injured. He wasn't injured. He took him off, but he was their best player. Did not make any sense. Just silly decisions, as you alluded to as well. The amount of money they've shelled out on players, and they've just not cut the mustard. Anthony, that is crazy money, just crazy money, and it doesn't make any sense. But moving on, John, we'll do some predictions just to move us along now. Newcastle, Brighton. This could be. I've got a draw. I'm gonna do a 2-2 draw on this one, but they've both been really good.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Newcastle just scraping through by the odd goal for me.
And then Southampton, Leicester. This is big at the bottom. This concerns Everton and Ipswich as well. You know, the nearest. I think Southampton are going to struggle. I think they're going to be bottom the whole season. I just don't see it with Russell Martin. Again, he's not had the money to spend, has he? But Leicester look all right. I think they may stay up. But I've got a Leicester 2-0, I think.
Yeah, I'm actually going to play a safe draw in that one. Okay. I'm still not completely convinced with Leicester's at the moment anyway, but I'm going to go for a draw on that one.
How about Bournemouth and your North London derby?
Yeah, hard to say, but Arsenal, I think Arsenal for me in this one, as difficult as that is for me to say, they're looking still pretty strong. You know, they're going at it, but Bournemouth, like I always praise them up because again, they don't have pockets full of money, but they do find some real gems, some real players. And considering, again, Dominic Solanke, much like Brentford, have lost Ivan Toney, they're still doing well without them players. I know they lost last time out against Leicester by that odd goal, but yeah, for me, Arsenal in that one.
Yeah, Bournemouth are 13th at the minute. It's if this Even Nilsson can get the goals, isn't he? Solanke's replacement. You know, they put a lot of money into him. I like Kluivert. I like Justin Kluivert, but I know
he's my favourite as well.
He's been on the bench a bit recently as well. But again, they rotate, don't they? They do rotate in different games, different teams you're playing, tactics. I totally get it. But yeah, I've got Arsenal, and I'm going to go 3-1 to Arsenal. And then moving on to Sunday, Wolves, Man City, John. This is only going one way. And I feel for poor Gary O'Neill, I tell you, because what a likeable man he is. But again, just no money to spend. But I've only got City winning this. And Wolves leak goals, as we saw against Chelsea earlier on in the season. I'm going to go 3-0 City.
I'll go 3-1, just because City always seem to concede a goal. And they always seem to come back on games. So I'll go 3-1 on that one. But yeah, City all day long for me. And
then the game of the weekend, arguably, again, both teams going well. Chelsea have had a good start. They've had a solid start. I wrote them off beforehand, saying that they were going to finish in the top four. A lot of the bookies had them finishing top four. They've had a solid start. Liverpool going very, very well under Slot as well. Only the one loss, which was Forest, but they've come out of that, haven't they? They've won the European games, domestic as well. Again, a tight one this. I've got a draw, John. I've got a draw. Chelsea will score goals. I'm going to go 2-2.
Angus will be happy with me because I'm going to say Liverpool just on this one. Just
there we go.
But it will be a tight game for sure. I'm still not completely sold on Chelsea, but yes, they have been doing well. That's for sure. But I'm just with that club, mate. Again, Todd Bowley, a bit like Man United. They are so disruptive sometimes to their own detriment.
Absolutely. It's going to be a massive game, that huge game. Looking forward to that. Forest Palace. Forest have had a solid start. On the flip side of that, Palace have just not got going yet, have they? Glasner, I know we've said about it previously. Fantastic when he came in during the winter, turned it around after Hodgson was let go. It doesn't seem to be working at Palace, does it? Does it really? But again, Forest, I'm going to go Forest 2-1. I think Palace's misery is going to continue, to be honest, from what I've seen early on of Forest. How do you feel that one's going to go, John?
Not to be boring, but I'll probably totally agree with you on the result there. I think that's pretty similar to what I was thinking. But Forest have been brilliant this season. And the football's been excellent as well. Just a real shame for Palace because, like you say, the back end of last season, that form was excellent. And I know they lost Michael Elise, but Eze was still there, the lad at the back as well, Tyreek Mitchell, some real good quality players they've got in there. They don't have a lot of money, but I just thought maybe it was something, top 8, top 9 sort of position for them. Because it's so hard when you look who's around you, Stu, with the sort of money that's been spent. Sometimes, you know what I mean? It's a battle of the checks sometimes, isn't it? Who can pay the most?
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's just a bit of a shame for them on that side.
The thing that's killing them, they've not had a win yet, but they've had 3 draws out of the 7. A bit of an Ipswich scenario. Ipswich have had 4 draws. One of them's a win, 2 of them's a win. You're right up there because it's still very tight down there. We're on 5 points, and we've been shocking. But I think the draws are killing Palace and Ipswich early on. They really are. Without question.
I see we've got some questions there, Stu. I'm very curious on is it Lawrence from Brisbane?
Yeah.
His opinion on. I want to know what he thinks of Ange being a Spurs fan because I always like the Australians.
It is great when the clubs with less money make use of what they have, work on tactics, etc. This is where Everton have been left behind. Lazar, this is exactly where we've been left behind because they've been run so well. We've said about Brighton previously. Tony Bloom is absolutely fantastic and what they've done there. As John was saying, you look at Brentford, they haven't had mass amounts of money. He's had to sell people. Tony's gone. And Bruno has been absolutely brilliant. He could be engineering a move to one of the top 6 quite easily because he's doing it week on week now. But yeah, John, it's good to see, isn't it? We're getting left behind. We've been left behind and we've spent a load of money. And these teams have had a fraction of what Everton have had, haven't they?
Yeah, and that's what that's the foreign coach influence. These guys are so good at making the best out of so little half the time, and they come in. But the difference, I think, between where foreign coaches prosper over, say, English managers or British managers, for me, Stu, is the fact that when they come in, they're already used to that system of hierarchy that they don't do the spending. There's always someone else above them in Europe, and clubs set up like that for years. Whereas in England, for a lot of the time, Stu, you'll remember when Fergie was the Man United manager, there was no way someone else above him was going out signing his players for him. He knew what he wanted, and that was it. And that's the big difference. But they are pretty much used to coming in and coaching. That's what they do. They coach. And it's just a bit of a different mindset, I think, to maybe how we perceive that role. But it's definitely changed.
Tony Bloom was looking at going into Hearts. I heard that about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. So he's looking at other options, and that could be mega for Hearts. Nobody can break Rangers and Celtic, can they? You've got Hibs, Hearts, Aberdeen. Aberdeen have been all right in more recent times as well. But yeah, he's looking at Hearts as well. And then we've got more comments here, John. Jessica Smith. I think Spurs might lose tomorrow.
That's John? Good. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not going to disagree with stuff like that when I'm sitting there every week, having mini heart attacks, because that's likely every time it comes down our end, I'm getting worried. So yeah, that's always a potential.
Long-time wrestling promoter Herb Simmons here, out of like St. Louis, Chicago, that area there, Midwest, do they call it there? I'm sure it is. But yeah, hello Herb. I don't know if you're into soccer, football, but no, thanks for tuning in. And we've got Harvey Klein as well, the fantastic podcaster and broadcaster there, Harvey Klein. Hope you're well. And he says, Tony Bloom turned Brighton into top 6 material. Yeah. He's done a remarkable job with limited resources. Yep. John, where are you at the weekend? Then I'm assuming you're down at the homeland. And then have you got any other games? Yeah, any other games? Because I know you go to other clubs as well.
Yeah, no, not this weekend. I sometimes do take myself to the Millwall games or Southend if I need to get back down there, because they're my real local, like closest sort of team, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I haven't been there for a while. But yeah, just Spurs tomorrow, mate, and then I'll be checking up on all the other results as I always do. How about yourself? Are you down at Everton anytime soon?
Not anytime soon, but I need to get a stadium tour booked. That's a big one. They're selling like hotcakes at the moment, as you can imagine. And then just looking at, I need to get over there. It will be happening. I might be going to Man United Everton.
You haven't turned into one of these Wrexham fans yet, then?
Oh no, God no! I know a lot of Wrexham fans have been fans for years, though, up here. To be fair, and then lads who live locally to there, one of which I work with. He's gone through all the bad years, non-league and all that. So
I bet he's loving it now, mate.
He looks at it like a lot of us do. They've had all the influx of the Americans coming over and stuff like that. But I think in the main, he knows it's a good thing. It's good for the sport as well at lower leagues, isn't it? So yeah, no Wrexham games coming up for me. I'll go and see the Blues at Goodison. John, before we go, the usual as well, just where the viewers and listeners can find you on the social links.
Yeah, I'm not as active as I used to be, Stu, as you know, since I've been out of the wrestling scene for a bit now. But John Scott _media is where you can find me on Instagram for stuff like that, my friend.
Perfect. Thanks again for coming on so last minute. I only messaged you this morning, so I've loved it.
No, you're good, mate. You're good.
And hopefully a win for you boys and a win for us tomorrow. And look forward to all the games over the weekend. And this has been episode 29 of Football Then and Now, a nostalgic look at football with a twist of modern as well. And we'll see you very, very soon for the 30th instalment of the show. I've been joined by John Scott, huge Spurs fan. And it's been brilliant. Thanks for all your comments as well. Also, just before we go, a big thank you to the Sports Social Podcast Network. Again, as you can see on screen, Europe's largest sport podcast network, 500 partners and counting. That'll be 1,000 before too long. They're absolutely massive and great support from them, and especially with Stu's Wrestling Podcast as well. And Big Fight Weekly prior to that. You can get the Everton podcast Unholy Trinity on there. Those guys do a great job. Joe Marler's rugby podcast is on there. So yeah, just thank you to Sports Social for housing the show as well. Didn't want to leave them out before we went, John. Okie dokie.
Stu, before we go, I'm going to embarrass you, but I'd seen your stuff from the wrestling side of things that you were taking a little hiatus, but I just wanted to say, well deserved. Take a break, mate. You've done brilliant for so long, since you've been with us at Powered 4, and before that, of course. So yeah, take the time, rest up well, and look forward to whatever you come back with, mate.
I'm in contact with somebody. So it could be coming out, and it's a big one. He messaged me last night, funnily enough. So we are talking.
Little insider there.
I've met him years ago. We sent an old photo. He loved it. So yeah, but it's been nice. It's been nice just focusing on the footy, because me and Chris love it. We know how much you love football as well, and how much you do with football. So thank you, John. And yeah, the Powered 4 days were brilliant. You and Rich, amazing what you did for us.
No worries, my friend.
So no, we appreciate you as well. Okie dokie. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you very, very soon for episode 30. This has been episode 29 of Football Then and Now.
Football Then and Now, a fun look at football nostalgia and the modern game intertwined. Join us.